heading. My name is Don Ginsel, CEO of Holland FinTech, and I'll be your host for today and talk you through the program and try to make things as smooth as possible, even though I've already seen that I've had to start already with a bit of a hurdle trying to get the music to stop. But nonetheless, we're going to have a bit of fun. So thank you very much for joining. Looking forward to see any questions or remarks that you have in the chat. I'll try to talk our team through it and make it easy for everyone to digest. And of course, we hope you find this whole session enlightening, find not much touch point to reach out to speakers or other people in the audience, and really enjoy the afternoon here together to talk about InsurTech. Without further ado, what I just want to do is give my colleagues from Belgium FinTech and the LHoFT briefly the floor to introduce themselves also for around this cooperation and tell you about why we do this and what's happening in the various parts in the Benelux.
Yes. Hello. Hi.
We start with
a very warm welcome also from my side as ambassador of the InsurTech for Fintech Belgium, and maybe just a quick word as well on Fintech Belgium. So we are the grassroots non-profit organization. We represent all fintechs in Belgium, so of course including the InsurTechs, and I've listed a few on this slide, and of course one of our most, let's say, famous InsurTechs, Jean-Charles, will take the floor any time soon today. And of course, that's what it's all about. We are not only promoting innovation, and we also do, of course, we keep on going into a dialogue with all the stakeholders of the financial services industry, but moreover, and very important, is that we share our knowledge, our insights, and we also want to share, of course, our success stories. But that's what it's all about. We want to make sure that all of us, all families and our businesses, we want to make sure that we have a future-proof and also a sustainable financial services industry. Thank you very much, and I'm very looking forward to this collaboration between our three federations on the Benelux. Thank you. Floor is yours, Alex.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Don. Welcome, everybody. My name is Alex. I'm the head of partnership and ecosystem at the LHoFT. So I'm not going to tell you how much InsurTechs we have in Luxembourg because I think it's 7 or 8. So we are not very well known for our InsurTech market. However, we have a huge market on life insurance. So we have a lot of companies in the fund asset management field, but also on AI. And there is one specificity to Luxembourg is the space industry. We have more space up there than we have here on Earth. And today, one of the InsurTechs that will pitch for Luxembourg is my good friend Benjamin, that will explain how to use data from space for the insurance sector. So looking forward to hear from everybody. And as Patricia mentioned, very important to collaborate more than ever. And I'm very, very happy to be part of it, this session today. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Alex and Patricia. I think it's great that we're able to do this together. I think it's a really powerful play to actually combine the countries, see where the various strengths are and how we can help each other with the specific weaknesses that we might encounter. But of course we won't, but let's say just hypothetically speaking. So I'm looking forward to collaborate with you on this, and especially also the session here this afternoon where we're going to have all these insights being shared. To maybe briefly tell you a little bit about Holland FinTech, I think it's pretty much in line with what you just heard from Luxembourg and Belgium, where Holland FinTech is also an ecosystem facilitator in the sense that we try to collaborate, let's say enable parties to collaborate across the complete financial value chain, be it startups, incumbent players, investors, regulators, universities, or any kind of service provider that's somehow attached to this. And so here you see already that there's quite a vivid landscape in InsurTech active in the Dutch market. But also there you see it's still fairly small if you compare it to the larger FinTech ecosystem. And we're very keen to actually explore how we can actually much more look at how the whole digital ecosystem is collaborating all together across boundaries. Jean-Charles, JC, can I ask you to share your screen and take it over.
Sure, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. So my name is JC, and I'm the co-founder of Cover. Cover is a Belgian InsurTech founded in 2016 by Quentin Coleman and myself.
Can you do a Control L for the full screen?
Yes, 2 seconds. Yes, full screen, voilà. Now you should be good now. Can you see my screen? Hello.
It's black now, but it looks like something's coming.
No.
No, not yet. Better go back to the previous.
I'll do it like that then. Can you see me?
There it is.
Yeah, okay, let's do it like that. Sorry about that. So Cover is a Belgian InsurTech. We say insurance as a service. What is the vision of Cover? And I'm very happy to speak right after Swiss Re, because there's a lot of overlap here in the way we see the future of insurance. And I'll come back to that later. What is the vision here of Cover? The vision is to rebuild API first insurance infrastructure fully digitally. And what you see on the screen here is basically the city of the future are already here. And all the logos that you see here on the screen are actual clients of Cover today. We cover more than 1 million persons in 33 European countries today. But what's the vision here? The vision here is to really go and rewire the insurance industry completely digitally and plug all the platforms of the new economy into Cover so that we can seamlessly embed or start cross-selling and upselling digital insurance. So that's what we do. And what you see here, typically one of our big clients is Revolut or Deliveroo, Wolt, but we hint here that we're going to do Amazon, that we're going to do, you see in Uber car, you might see connected cars like Tesla, you might see SpaceX or Airbnb, but that's the whole idea, is to go after all the players of the new economy, after all those platforms, connect them seamlessly with digital insurance and put it in the back. Now, how do we do that? Is that the fundamental problem that the risk carrier has today is that you have to understand that the risk carrier is fundamentally local. So an alliance is basically a federation of companies, but Allianz Belgium and Allianz France, they don't talk to each other. So if you're a platform of the new economy, by nature, you're cross-border. But if you want to integrate, to embed, cross-sell, upsell digital insurance, it's extremely difficult because you have to rebuild it block by block by block by the nature of how an insurance company is structured today. So at Cover, and I'll explain you how we do it, we've sold this. And the only thing our partners have to do is connect to an open API, and we take back all the complexities of doing global or pan-European insurance, meaning the products, the regulation, the customer care, and so forth and so on. And then we plug. How do we do this? And how have we built this? So this is the value chain of insurance. And you have to understand that we say at Cover that what we do is that we've rebuilt from scratch a digital native insurance company without the balance sheet. So what does that mean? Is that at Cover, we built the products ourselves, so all the legal infrastructure, all the regulatory infrastructure around the product is done in-house. We built the tech in-house, and it's a kind of internal SaaS platform, so with open APIs and white label front ends to allow us to super fast distribute digital insurance across the ecosystem. Today, we can build any insurance product, non-life insurance product in any country in a matter of weeks or even days with the platform. So product with us, tech with us, and then very important, operations with us. Means that at Cover, we will do claims handling, we will be the first notice of loss and so forth. We do that centrally from Brussels for 33 countries in Europe today. And we have a 95% customer satisfaction rate. So again, product, tech, and operations with Cover. The only thing we don't do is carry the risk. And that we go to various insurers and reinsurers, and they basically take the risk. And so basically what we say, and it's a bit controversial for an insurer to hear that, but it's the reality, is that we say that insurers have to go back to what they do well, which is carry the insurance risk. All the rest can be done by players like Cover. And the final play here, what you see is that the real business plan of Cover is to connect via open APIs the distribution with the balance, the regulatory capital. That's the real play here, seamlessly via open APIs. And that's what we've built at Cover today. By the way, we work with more than 10 insurers and reinsurers in the back here. So how we crack the puzzle, basically, we've built the tech, we've built the data infrastructure, we've built that insurance infrastructure, we've built the operations, we're pan-European and want to go global very, very soon. What we need to do now is scale the number of platforms. So these are some of the logos we have. So we do Revolut in all of Europe, we do Wolt in most of the European countries, Deliveroo across Europe. We have lots of very big bike play and so forth and so on. And we will add beginning of Q2, two very nice logos on top of that. Some reference cases. This is what we do with Revolut. So we're integrated in the app. We integrated full claims integration with them. It's pan-European directly. With all the delivery platform, how does it work? Is that somebody takes their phone, they swipe right, saying now, a rider swipes right, say now I start working, we ping the signal, we insure them. Swipes left, start working, ping the signal, take the insurance away. We do that on a pan-European level. We're quite big in bike. I think by the end of the year, we might become the biggest bike insurer in Europe. We have a good chance looking at my sales pipeline for the moment. At least that's the ambition. Angel is another bike. We do all the everything for IMWeb and so forth and so on. So this is Cover. We are a team of 65 people, mainly based in Brussels, small office in London. Gonna grow this team ×2 this year. Very big expansion plans to really go and sign all the platforms of the new economy. And this is it for us. Happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, thanks, JC. I think a really interesting perspective, especially also to see you that your API-driven perspective, I think, connects really well with the story that Swiss Re was just sharing as well. So that's already a nice link in the value chain that we can make visible here. We saw a question here from Florian, who's curious about your distribution. So do you also support distribution through agents, or do you rely on basically the insurance parties there?
No, I lost 6 months of my life signing all the agents. It doesn't work. So what we need to do is to go and plug the actor native. Otherwise, it makes no sense to sell a digital Ferrari to somebody that only drives a bike, right? It just doesn't work. So for us, all the clients that we have are fintech clients, gig economy clients, e-commerce players, digital bike resellers, and so forth. So they have to be digital native to be our client. Yeah. To be able to integrate that, otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Exactly, clear. So I think that that's a good part for the discussion later on to see indeed and what on the these agents potentially is. So that could be interesting. Question to you, whether you have any examples in the Dutch market already. Any?
Yes, so on the Dutch market, we work quite a bit with NN Insurance. They are the balance sheet for most of the countries we do in bike insurance. We are in the process of signing quite a bit of bike retailers in the Netherlands.
Okay, sounds interesting. A lot of bikes here, so
yeah, and on top of that, you guys have very nice payment solutions and so forth. All the payments as a service and so forth. Yep. So those are people that we hunt.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, JC. I think, yeah, looking forward to take you to the discussion later on with everybody.
Excellent.
So thanks for your presentation right now, and also the people that ask questions. Then I would like to give the room to Catharina Maas from the EGMEA Innovation Fund. How are you doing, Catharina?
Hi.
Have you been warmed up properly?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, for sure. And I'll share your presentation. There you go. Just tell me where to go. I'm afraid we lost Catharina for a second there. Catharina, are you still there? Otherwise, I think we're going to make a switch and move on to.
She looks frozen, right?
Yes, exactly. I think it's the connection. So we'll move on to Hidde's presentation next up. Let's see if there's Hidde already. I also don't see him connected well.
Yes.
So maybe let's start with you, Benjamin. I think that's probably...
Yeah.
Oh, Hidde, you're there. Okay. Yes. I think that's probably the wisest to start with you to make sure that we can actually continue with the program, and we'll give Catharina the floor later on. Hidde, are you able to share your presentation?
I'm afraid not. So I send it to you. So if you're able to pull it up.
Will do.
Or maybe I am. Let me check. Does this work for you? Perfect.
Yes, it's good.
All right. There we go. So
Go ahead.
I'm Hidde ter Porte, CEO of Hyphen, and Hyphen is a recently spun off company in the Dutch pensions industry. And I'll share how we came about and what we did to get here. But the mission we have is to connect people with their pension and their pension euros, because what we see now, and this is particularly relevant in the Netherlands right now, because we have a new pension contract coming up, where everyone in the Netherlands is moving from the current defined benefit contract to defined contribution contract. And that's going to be a large overhaul for the contracts themselves, but also for all technology involved. Because currently there's also no need, but there's something like 7 or 8 legacy systems between a person and their pension euro. So that means no real-time interaction. That means no real-time dashboards, because it's not needed, because you have this balance sheet difference between the pension assets and the pension liabilities with a lot of actuaries in between. So what we want to do is connect the person to their euros, and we are doing this via an ecosystem platform. And what we mean there is that we connect all the different parties that have a role in administration and execution of pensions, to make sure that you don't have to care as an individual where your data is at or with whom you're dealing, but that you can easily and frictionlessly interact with your pension throughout this whole ecosystem. And that involves, of course, the pension funds, but also pension insurance companies, government agencies, the supervisory authorities, and employers, most notably. And so by connecting all these different data sources, we're able to come up with up-to-date insights and interactive views on your pension. The ecosystem right now consists of course, ourselves, but most notably our clients at this point, APG, PGM, Blue Sky Group, AZL, and Nationale Nederland. So together, I think they represent about 60% of the total Dutch market. But we've also worked with, for example, the supervisors, AFM and DNB, in their sandbox to check what it means to actually hook up all these different parties to a single ecosystem platform. We work with the Dutch government to see if we can come up with innovative solutions to connect to the Dutch citizen registry, because of course they're the holder of all live events that are very important in your pension journey. And we work together with the Dutch Blockchain Coalition as one of their national initiatives. Before we spun out, we were part of the innovation department of APG, so the largest pension service provider in the Netherlands. But last year we hooked up, and I thought, especially because this is a Benelux event, we hooked up with a Belgian party, De Glue, who you might know for doing business with Assuralia or Nationale Nederland in Belgium. And they already have a track record in building platforms for financial industry companies. So there we really bundle forces and make sure that we can scale up the platform we right now have to answer to all these challenges in the pension industry. And how we got here, like I said, we were part of the Groeifabriek, which is the innovation department of APG. It was set up in 2015 after the obligatory travels of the board of directors to Silicon Valley in that time. And they came back and they wanted their innovation department to be as innovative as the guys and girls in Silicon Valley, of course. So what we set out to do really there, and you have to take into account that pensions is quite archaic at times, maybe even more so than insurance is. So we set out to really approach all the challenges in the pension industry with this greenfield approach, taking into account all the new technologies available, AI, machine learning, blockchain at that time, and look at what we could do for the pension industry. And it started out with the proof of concepts, like we all know, part of the innovation journey, a pilot. And I think where we really got going is the enterprise showcase, as we call it, where we not only built a technical solution, but also had it validated and challenged on things like privacy, security, corporate governance. And so actually that was looking into how can we combine forces throughout the industry and set up this joint platform for pension processes. And what we found there that, yes, indeed, we were able to do this from a technology standpoint, but we were also able to do this inside the GDPR framework and the governance context, which is quite complex. From there on, we focused on value transfers as a very specific use case for where you need two parties to be part of a transaction. And we spun off the company last year and had our go live in November. So now everyone in the Netherlands can log into our website with their government issued ID, and then see if there's possible value transfers between the pension they already built up and the pension they are currently at.
Hidde?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I didn't really come through, but I think it's really interesting. Could you maybe, because I think we're running a bit out of time, but I want to make sure that people understand what your product does, because I think that might be different, of course, across Luxembourg, Belgium, and the Dutch market, how people experience this problem. Could you briefly tell us what does the platform do? How do people use it?
Yeah, exactly. So we quickly moved through it in the right part of the screen, but what happens in the Netherlands, if you switch jobs, you're able to take your pension with you from your old pension vendor provider to your new pension provider. So that involves making the decision yourself, where you have to check what do I have at my old provider and what do I get when I transfer it to my new pension provider. And what our platform does is connect to the back offices of these providers and make sure that you have real-time data to make that comparison between your old and your new pension plan and decide if you want to move it. And if you want to move it, we handle all the administration between the back offices as well. So it's a fully digital and STP process for both the individual and the pension providers in the background.
Okay, clear. Thanks, Hidde. I think that's really valuable, and indeed that allows for a lot of more people to actually start providing solutions in the pension market, and I think that's quite an interesting perspective to help customers with that perspective. And let's talk a little bit later in the discussion about what perhaps the new pension system actually means also for your product, and how the regulatory changes there are expected to work out for people's pensions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much for now. I think the question that Banu typed in the chat, I think, was still for the previous session. So I don't see Katarina just yet. So Benjamin, I think it's probably best if we ask you to start your presentation.
Sure. Let me share the slides.
Yes, please.
Can you see it?
Benjamin is in Earth Lab, especially looking after alternative data that could be very much of use in the insurance. Thanks for joining this presentation. Looking forward to your talk. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So thank you also for the invitation. So my goal today is to try to give you a small overview of a bit what was the Earth Lab journey on a certain extent by showing you the different products that we build according to our life. Actually, by writing these slides, I was really confronted to the idea of showing to you that we have made a typical startup story. We're starting with ideas, trying to have first activities, building products, and at the end, we finished with a real product development with a lot of differences, a lot of pivoting, a lot of activities. But at the end, unless you are already climbing this hill with a cycle, I think it's always nice to have this kind of road to climb. So let me try to give you, within this next 8 minutes, a kind of overview of what we are doing in Earth Lab in the past and now. Everything started with a discussion we had with some reinsurance company and brokers. It was at the moment of Irma and Harvey, and there was these sessions of a lot of different cyclones and different major windstorm that was hitting USA and other countries around. And by discussing with them, they said, well, Benjamin, we have a very strong problem at the end because we are a reinsurer. We have to give back money to the insurance companies for giving this money back to their subscribers. But honestly, we don't know. We don't know what will be the real amount of money that we need to move out from our investments to be put at the disposal of the insurance companies. And I like the challenge. I like the challenge because there was nearly everything that was very nice for me to create a new product. You have a very good business case, you have time pressure, and you need to put technology because there is a lot of different information available, but not really homogeneous, not coming at the right order. So you need really to build a new solution in order to really give them a service, a time-based service. And for that, we directly tackled the problem by integrated technology. And it was really artificial intelligence at that moment. So it's a generative adversary network. And we had to also put this for very large scale using very large processing capabilities and infrastructure. And so we were able to create a product, so for supporting these reinsurance groups, in order to give them quite precise view on what are the damages. So I prepared this small animation. I will let it turn around when I'm speaking. And the idea was to compare basically what was there before, as you can see here with the satellite images. So here, one of the benefits of space, and then try to get back with some information captured by drones or aerial survey. And again, trying to tackle and finally, by making a simple difference, trying to have a clear view, at the house level, what are the houses that have been really damaged. And in that case, you can really provide to this reinsurance company a kind of map, what was the area that was really affected and what is the amount of house. And from that, you can derivate more or less with a quite good accuracy, the amount of money required for giving back to insurance and then to the subscribers. This was a very challenging moment because we were a few people and we had to create AI. So it was really, one of these fantastic moments in a startup when you are building things. And very quickly, so we had to say, okay, no, we made it, so let's try to commercialize it. And so we made a product out of it. So something that was, I would say, orderable by just contacting us, and within very small time frame, so 24 hours, 36 hours, we were agglomerated a sum of data, being one of them space, and then we were delivering to them a kind of information about these damages. But, it's always like that. You start to answer to a specific need or to probably tackle a pain that they have. And finally, you discover that the pain is probably a bit different. And we clearly understood that most of these actors, and it has been really said also by Swiss Re, so thanks again for your very smart introduction in that case, that at the end, we don't know. We don't know what is really the elements of the subscriber that are insured. And so it's probably better to complete the product offer by trying to, instead of looking for damages, but compare and already prepare everybody by looking at the vulnerabilities of what they are insuring. Like this, you better know what you're insuring, you can better price, and you can also accurately prepare for damages. So it was a very good match in order to complete the initial product offer. So that's Act 2. And so we will use more or less the same technology. So we try to have a lot of different data coming in. So we were using Google Street, Google Earth, space, social networks, information coming from the insurance portfolio as well. And we created different AI models together also with this insurance company and reinsurance company. So it's really, there is this idea of co-creation. And by merging of these different data, we were able to analyze tons of things on the different properties. So instead of looking at the damages at the end, we were able to provide them up to really the evaluation of the reconstruction cost of a house by looking for all the specific elements that are composing the house, number of windows, type of the roof, materials, also having specific information about the garden. So with all this kind of information, we were really able to reinforce their view of what they are insuring. And this was then creating, again, new ideas. And these new ideas was to say, okay, now we are able to better give them a view of the damage. We can give them more information about what they're insuring. So then we can integrate with their legacy approach. So we created a kind of branded product, so-called Building Knowledge Center, or BKC. And the goal of this product was not really to create a user interface, but to create APIs. And the APIs were there to be consumed by these different actors in order to automate some of their commercial or the writing operations, but also to support all the new onboarding or maybe refresh your portfolio. So this is changing dramatically the way that this insurance and reinsurance company was understanding the data, because they were not concentrating on what they have or what their agents can bring in, but it was really already there. By just coding the API, there was tons of data coming in and reinforcing their view on their portfolio. One very specific things, we are discussing about AI, we are discussing about big data somehow, we are discussing also about APIs, but we had a very teeny challenge. The teeny challenge is called secrecy and confidentiality. There is a GDPR, it has been mentioned already several times in the different presentations. And so we also included into our product the possibility to also move the product to their on-premise infrastructure in order to keep the data secret and also to bring this very close to their portfolio. And so at the moment, with all the different assets we built in our lab, we are a kind of data transformation hub. So with having models that are sometimes co-created with insurance sector, we have data access. And so it's really a flow of actions and data that you can provide within your sinistrality operations, well, claims, etc., analyzing all your portfolio, or even supporting your underwriting. So by starting with just analyzing damages, you see that the journey moves on creating a lot of different analytic assets that can fill all the different aspects of the operation in the insurance sector. And this is not stopping, because one of the ideas within Earthslam and shared with all the team is always to say, okay, no, we can move forward. We can do other things. We can really improve everything. And so there is already tons of new things coming in, like including the possibility to micro-segment the portfolio in order to isolate, the small cohort that is sometimes making problems for your ROI, and even support your agents on the ground in order to capture very easily the data and reduce, in that case, the cost. Or even during the COVID-19 period, having the possibility to ask to take just pictures and your agent doesn't have to go on site to create a contract. So with all these different data, all this transformation, I think it's really the dynamism that has to be here understood. There is, with all the data, space, social media, AI now as an analytic capability, the possibility to do really smooth all this process that was sometimes a bit more strict, but now to move it forward and to have a complete dynamism, and that will definitely improve the user experience. That's it for my talk. I don't know if you have questions.
Thank you, Benjamin, for your clear presentation. I think really cool. It's always really cool to see what data can do, especially also for the insurance industry. Thanks. I don't see any direct question for you right now, but I think we've got some things, some ideas for you for during the discussion later on. I'm especially really curious indeed how to balance the privacy aspect as well, and the ethics around data. If you talk about everything that you can know, would you want to know, right? So that's I think interesting
another question and a very good one. Yeah. Thank you.
And then we're going to check if Katerina has been able to join in.
Here, yes. I hope that I'm not being thrown out again when the slides are shared.
Well, we don't intend to, Katerina, so hope we can keep you on board. You don't have your video on, is that correct?
Yeah, I just switched it off because I thought maybe it helps that I'm not crashing.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll share your slides. So we're going to hear now from Katerina Maas, head of Achmea Innovation Fund. Achmea is a large insurer, and it's nice to see what she's able to do with the fund after innovations. So I'll share your slides, but you can already kick it off if you want.
Yes, so I think what I want to talk about really pretty much reflects what has been also talked about by the previous speakers. If I can have the next slide, I think when you asked me how does an incumbent look at the InsurTech and FinTech space, I would say we look at the most relevant drivers, and mostly it's technology. We are active, of course, in many markets, so also regulation plays a role, and then industry-specific technology also plays a role, especially in mobility. But the overarching theme is, I would say, new forms of data access and customer intelligence driven by Internet of Things, intelligent home, drones, satellites, dash cams, wearables, image analysis using AI, and so on. The questions, of course, always for an incumbent are, how do we deal with data privacy? What's going to happen in terms of antitrust? Because there are some very powerful parties there. And of course, we also want to respect the consumer as a B2C, a service company. Then we have, of course, technology giving access anywhere, mobile at much lower transaction cost. So enabling mobile access, connected assets, 5G, Internet of Everything. So we see new channels emerging, new platforms, new ecosystems. and non-financial players starting to offer financial services. So what we also observe is a further disintermediation and blurring of value chains. And all underlying this and where it comes together is data analytics and artificial intelligence. It will be possible for people harnessing the power of data to really assess much better to individual risk, and it will be more and more difficult to insure collectively the risk. So these are the big trends that we see. This is all happening in an environment of heavily regulated incumbents. We have solvency, we have bank licenses, and we have heavily structured legacy systems, IT legacy systems that need to comply with all these regulations, and it does make it difficult for incumbents to open up, and that is in the beginning. That's of course a barrier of entry to some of the fintechs, but we see now that there are disruptors kind of replicating what we do and being able to do this in an open way, and that's I think where we see success stories. We are looking, of course, also driven by all these new developments, also at additional services, at prevention, at access to data, new forms of customer access, new types of individualized risk, user-based insurance, and so on. So this is all areas we are looking into. If I can see the next slide. We see actually the following fintech, InsurTech categories emerging, and I'm looking at the ones that we see as being the most successful now in this environment I described. So it's direct to consumer fintechs using new channels, new technology, and data insights. So these are the Revoluts, and they are really becoming strong and emerging now, and they are digital first, so they don't have to deal with much of the legacy systems. Then we see platforms and ecosystems, new challenges for customer access, and these are specific per industry or per theme, rather than having a particular business model. And then we see the enablers, and these are mainly serving fintechs and ecosystem players, because the incumbents, they are dealing with all this regulation and their legacy systems. So the enablers are serving other fintechs and the ecosystem players, so enabling other parties to offer insurance in the end. Exactly, Jean-Charles, you're raising your hand. That's you. And then we also see new forms of data access. These are the satellite companies and so on. But for them it's more difficult to serve the incumbents, and there you really need the connections. If they are able to have a connection to the incumbents or to the other players, they will be able to add value. And then we see market networks and exchanging as a last category, but these are more in the fintech space. So what does Achmea do in this environment? First of all, we are trying to open up via APIs and also mirroring this open access technology, but also our other approaches. If I can have the next slide. Yes. So we are really looking at what role we can play in the ecosystem, and really also looking at the underlying customer need. Achmea is very strong in healthcare, so we're looking at new ways to serve, the customer needs. So the customer often prefers to have a solution to the health problem or be healthy rather than be healed when they are sick. Or we are looking at opportunities in digital health in this area, for instance. Clean, safe, and smart mobility. We are looking at, from the fund side, to take a position there to understand how these markets work and be able to serve those markets, but also around this home theme, entrepreneur theme. So we're really looking into much broader space than simply insurance companies to be able to grow and to be able to contribute to Achmea's strategy in the end. That's it. Are there any questions?
Patricia, I think a clear story. I think you've covered, of course, quite a wide range of insurance-related products. And I think in any case, what struck with me was the fact that you say that you actually might want to focus more on prevention rather than trying to solve the problems afterwards. And I think this pick up on as well during the discussion a bit later on. Because
and servicing, also rather than just paying out when you have a claim, really solve the problem.
Taking care, exactly. Yeah.
Taking care.
Yeah. No, that's a nice one indeed. And so I think you see already there's a higher degree of specialization around the servicing around it becoming much more important. So I think it's interesting how you look into the trend. So definitely like to discuss a bit more about that. For now, I would like to actually first maybe give the word to Penny before we head out to a broader discussion with all of you. Penny van Puinbroek, last but not least, let's also have a look at your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Don. Is it working? Otherwise, it will be without a presentation. That's also okay. Okay, great. Thanks. So, hi, good afternoon.
I think it's coming. Yep.
Yeah, I can see it. Can you hear me well? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Patricia. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Penny van Puinbroek. I'm the Business Development Manager at Excelis for Belgium and the Netherlands. But let me first start with some facts. Numbers from Agoria from 2018 say that by 2030, there will be a deficit of 600,000 jobs. That's a lot. In Belgium, we have around 1,500 graduates in industrial sciences and technology. And what we see at Excelis is that a lot of tech candidates get several opportunities from different companies. So what does that mean? That means that there's a lot of scarcity on the job market and a high demand for tech people and a fierce competition between companies. And if we link that to the insurance sector, I think we could say, and sorry for my words, that is the image of the insurance sector is maybe not that sexy to attract these talents. So, and a lot of these talents, they really want to start at Google, at Facebook, at other sexy companies. So how can you make your company more attractive towards tech talent? We at Excelis, we work a lot with insurance companies. And when we ask a tech graduate, like, okay, what do you think about an insurance company maybe? Well, what is your opinion on that? you really see them looking like, I don't know, do they have interesting challenges? Is it an innovating sector? Penny, I really don't know. I'm not that interesting, I think. But then when we tell them, and I saw it in all the presentations, when we tell them about the digital transformation that this sector is in, the newest technologies that they are working with, the kind of roles that they can take up, yeah, then they really are like, oh, okay, this maybe could be interesting for me. I really didn't thought about that. So bringing your strategy, your digital and innovation strategy to these tech graduates, I think it's super important. Also to give them the roles that they can take up, and also the added value that they can deliver in this transformation, and giving that to them is a very important part. So we can go, oh, sorry, we're already on the third slide. I was too enthusiastic. Yeah, so attracting the talent towards your organization. So you want to also hire the talent. And then I say, hire for attitude and train for skills. And we have job descriptions, and we use it still a lot. Like, here is the job description with the technical skills, the soft skills. These are the tasks that you need to do, and done. But no, we have to look a bit further than that. We also need to see and need to tell them, okay, what is the why of the company? What does the company stand for? And really bring that to them. And next to that, we need to see, okay, what is the team? What are the competencies that we have in our teams? And what is the added value that the young graduate can bring in the team? And also check for personality. Is it a personality fit? And organizational wise, is it a culture fit? Because a culture fit is really super important for a company, but also for a young graduate that starts in a company. So if I can give 2 tips there, what I see a lot also in insurance company is that they always ask for a lot of experience in the insurance sector and a lot of experience in different technologies. But yeah, we have all these young people who are very enthusiastic, very motivated, really have the right mindset, but okay, they don't know the insurance sector yet. But it's something that we can train, that we can give the knowledge to them, and okay, it will take some time, but investing in them, it will take off for the organization. The last or the second tip that I want to give is that's not retaining talent, is make a referral policy for your company. What we see at Excelis is a referral policy. It really works in the organization. The people who refer someone will give you the best people, because yeah, they are proud of the company, they're proud of what they do, so they really want to give the best people that they know. And I think 90% of the people that we get as a referral, we hire them. So I think it's a good tip to take to is a referral policy. So, okay, the last part, we hire the talent, we have an attractive company, but then we have to retain the talent. And I think a good number to say is 35% of the graduates that start with the first employer is away after 1 year. So that means we already gave a lot of money, a lot of effort to hire these people, to onboard them, and then after 1 year they are already away. And why are they leaving? Why are they leaving the company? So first of all, no career prospect. So no next step for these young people, and no training possibilities is also one of them. Some numbers there: 92% of young professionals consider personal development and training the second most important motivator in a job after salary. So investing in training is an important thing. If you don't do it, yeah, and then people will leave. Not an attractive company culture. I already talked about, okay, a good fit between the graduate and the company, a cultural fit is super important. These young graduates, you really want a welcoming atmosphere, you want a sense of humanity, feeling openness, and also the why of the company. And if they don't see it, if they don't feel it, it will also be something that they say like, okay, yeah, I'm going away now. And the last one that I want to address is, and I saw it a lot, I did a lot of interviews with tech graduates, and if they have a first experience already, this one is that came up a lot, and that is broken promises. Then they say like, okay, I went on an interview. They said to me like, I will get training, I will get coaching, it will be a lot of fun and fun events, etc. So they start at the company, they're a bit on their honeymoon, they're happy, and then the organization doesn't deliver. Then they are not happy, of course, and people get a bit frustrated. So it's really important to be transparent, to be open in the things that you can't deliver and can deliver. Yeah, that's really an important one to take into. So to end this presentation, how do we retain talent at Excelis? We really try to connect with companies and try to understand their challenges. What are their needs? What are the steps that they need to take in this digital transformation? And next to that, we have, of course, also the graduates and also their needs, and really bridging those two needs and make a good company fit with them. It's really what we do. We also guide them in a unique training program and coach them and give them very often feedback. But we also guide the management. Also, the management need guidance in onboarding the tech talent. So we really want to bring an added value, and high added value for the companies and for the graduates. So that was my short, brief talk about the war for talent and making your company more attractive. I hope you got some insights from it, and otherwise I'd love to talk to you about it later. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Penny. I think a really relevant topic here. I think in the whole transition, the transformation and all companies are going through, the talent question, I think, is still the most important one for all people that are running companies. And maybe to already sort of kick off the discussion a little bit, Alex, how do you see actually that the talent discussion is going? If you talk about, for example, from the Luxembourg perspective, do you see that it's easy to attract the right people, or is it hard? How do you look at that from an ecosystem perspective? And then after that, I'd like to talk to Patricia about this as well, of course.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because when we started the LHoFT, so our goal is to drive innovation, and we start talking about education 2 months after the creation of the LHoFT, and we quickly understood there is no innovation without education. So we have 4 programs of education at the LHoFT, which start at 4 years old. So if you are coming back in the days before COVID, we have kids running all around during weekends. We train them on technology, robotization, whatever. And we are also running a lot of projects with teenagers between 15 to 20 years old on AI, on blockchain, and we do a lot of hackathons with the industry. It's amazing. If you ask a kid of 15 years old to build the bank of the future in 3 days, his answer will be, there will be no bank in the future. We've done in the insurance and there was no insurance. Was gaming, was platform, was social media, as mentioned by Florian and his colleague earlier. So yeah, talent for us is very, very important, and we don't talk enough. So thank you, Penny, for taking the time for that.
Yep, thanks. I think it's definitely, you also touched upon an interesting challenge, and that is actually that most of financial services are actually now out of sight for consumers. So actually, if you indeed ask youngsters what the world should look like, they never mention the complex plumbing that's going on behind, which to a certain extent might be unnecessary because it's just artificially complex, but it's an interesting challenge as well. Patricia, how do you see this?
Yeah, and exactly. And what is also a very interesting challenge is that as fintech and as InsurTech, you need to comply to rules and regulations. So we at Fintech Belgium, we don't focus that much on youngsters, though we have programs for students and so on, but we do focus on academies, and we give training in, for instance, what's everything about how to obtain the famous payment license, or how to be compliant with the AML regulation, or how, of course, stay GDPR compliant. And we focus on training, and we cooperate as well with, let's say, institutions like Febelfin Academy, and that's the training institutions from the Belgian banking industry. So, and in that way, we also try to, of course, train and enhance the skills, like also Penny mentioned. When you have the correct attitude, you just need the skills, then you get training to enhance your skills. And of course, we also help with our community to build the further on the ecosystem, and posting, of course, all the vacancies, and share as much as we can all the possible vacancies that our members have. That's a bit how we tackle this war on talent.
We'll have a lot of work to post the cover.
Yeah, no, I think from that perspective, yeah. No, exactly. So indeed, that can be quite a tough job indeed, because indeed there's a lot of hunger for talent in the industry, but already indeed to about the sexiness of the industry. I think this is also something or an ecosystem approach could actually really work well. To touch upon one of the topics in any case that was much highlighted. Benjamin, do you have any data on this as well? How it's going with the talent? And where
I
the
track
people
them
are
actually.
moving?
You don't know, but there is a spot on each of the tech talent, and I'm following them. No, actually, I think it was a very nice presentation, because I had exactly the same, I would say, discussion with my shareholder. I have the chance to have very large shareholders, large groups, and we had a discussion about, how do you hire? Because we were not having really big troubles for hiring. And I told them, sorry, that indeed, it's all about sharing challenges and being open to say that, of course, it will be difficult. We have tons of challenge. And, what is really the border in front of you? It's what you can do. So do the maximum you can. We will help you. We will push you. We'll do the maximum for you to really be happy, and like this, you can really go forward. We all have this image, of the Google area where you have, or Microsoft, where you have this console, etc. So you need to be well in your company, and to have the good challenge for creating new stuff. This is for me the main thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I think it also resonates well with the fact that the ecosystem approach that already Florian also advocated at the beginning. So do you see this as well? Is this also one of the goals that you see at Swiss Re on your innovation journey, to actually also attract the right talent? Is that also something you look after for your partners to work with?
I think it's relevant for everyone. And especially, for us being such a tremendously international organization, we happy enough have these kind of relevant part for many people. So most of the people, when they look for really international assignments, stumble across companies like ours. But yeah, it's a tough war around talent. I think has been so much said today, and also in the media and written around that. So I think nothing to comment there. As you referred to our presentation, I think one thing we do, why we deliberately step into the ecosystem approach and the partnering up and the co-creation, is that we are fully aware that there are people sitting somewhere completely different, but in the insurance industry, that are light years ahead, or also working with companies around the globe. Let's say, I don't know, insurers like Ping An, who have more data scientists working for them than Salesforce or stuff like that, which is a little bit over exaggerating now. But I think Talking ecosystem means to a very important extent also know what you can't do or where others are better, and therefore partnering up. And thus you might find a twist in getting the right people working with you, together with you, aside from hiring them.
Yeah, and so you say also there that you really, so probably the really nice things are mostly perhaps found outside your industry rather than next door.
It's always nicer outside, right? In Germany, we have the saying, the grass is always greener somewhere else. So I don't think it's about that. It's just about everybody brings capabilities and everybody brings specialization. And it's the key about the bloody, sorry for using that word, not invented here syndrome. I mean, let's join forces within specialists. Let's not pretend we know everything better than anybody else, and bring together the right people, but always with the mindset, all for the customer. How can we supercharge the value add we provide together without playing bold and pretending we are the ones who know everything?
Yeah, it's a challenge because that's not how a lot of people were raised. But I agree that that's the way to go. If we then turn it around a little bit from the talent discussion more towards the insurance value chain, because I thought that was also interesting, where I think you positioned already Swiss Re as, basically a giant box with all API connections and all ends that can be connected to everything. So if I then connect that to JC's discussion, right? So who's basically ready digitally. I was wondering what Karina would be doing other than servicing that whole process around it. So I thought it would be interesting to just validate there. How do you see the value chain moving? Maybe start with you, JC. Where is there really a role still for risk-taking role by insurance companies, or should they indeed focus more perhaps on prevention and servicing?
I think what will change drastically in the next decade, and those things will take time. It's not that the full insurance industry will be disrupted in 5 years' time. But what I think will happen is that what happened in FinTech will happen with a vengeance in InsurTech. It will go way quicker than people think. What will have to drastically change is the organization of the insurance companies themselves, the fact that they are so local. And this is a very hard challenge for them to do. That's why I think the ones that will thrive in this new market are the reinsurance companies, because they've understood that the traditional insurance companies are kind of brokers for them in a certain way, but are slow, are super expensive, are badly organized, or have legacy stuff and so forth. But as a reinsurance companies, the insurance companies are your clients, right? So I think that they can play very smartly by teaming up with the new digital MGAs, as we call them, that go and plug the new economy. What will be the role of a traditional insurer in the future will be, to my sense, is to be simply a risk carrier to start with. Okay, most of the middle part of the value chain for me will be disrupted. And will be replaced by all new technologies. Obviously, it's only for one part of the market. Typically, the big corporates that will stay. Everything that can be commoditized in insurance will be digital. Okay, so most of the B2C products or B2B2C products will go digital. Some of the SME products will go digital. I'm not a great believer in live products digital. You can do it, but it still asks for quite a bit of broker. But then there's still a huge market, and I think a huge market for the traditional broker, simply because insurance is complicated and people want to be helped. So not everybody will take everything online, I can assure you that. And certainly for the major corporates. So you will see everything that can be commoditized will go digital. The rest is more an art than a science in anything else in insurance.
And so potentially we're talking also about more embedded finance, embedded insurance, right? So
okay,
that's
a big
also
thing.
the
I just want to say
distribution
something here.
really changes.
Embedded
even if it's
insurance
not
is really important because how an insurance product or a financial product has been sold until today is that you buy a car and you buy an insurance product next to each other, right? So it's two separate things, okay? What needs to be done is to embed in every product and service digitally already an insurance. Insurance should just be present, should be part of the product and service. And that's embedded insurance, that's where we need to go.
I fully believe that there's a large market for that, as it's more perhaps a contract feature rather than a separate product. But I think it goes for a lot of finance products similar to payments or certain types of lending, for example, as well. So that's really interesting. But so Catharina, I'm really curious to get your take on this as you're in the middle of the discussion heat now. How do you look upon this,
yes,
your role in the value chain and how it's changing around you?
We look at it using scenarios, I would say, because there is extreme scenarios we can imagine that the future will look like, and that will depend also on how far big tech companies will be regulated, how data will be regulated. If there is little regulation on data privacy and especially on the business to consumer side, then that will mean it will be very difficult for the local insurers to play a role. If there is more regulation, then insurers can play a role. But I think, given what I described earlier, the fact that there will be more data no matter what, that will individualize your insurance or your risk. We need to simply look at prevention, and we are driven to really satisfy the underlying need. Help people solve the problems they have. So we really try to move into that direction, and it will also depend on the area which you're talking to. Is it healthcare? Is it mobility? Is it home? What role we can play in the value chain, because we also realize we cannot win on all fronts, and we also need to partner up in the different areas.
Yeah, I also don't actually believe in the concept of disintermediation. I just think about re-intermediation with higher levels of specialism. So you might have to want to rethink, especially where you combine multiple functions like servicing, like risk-taking, like asset management, like life insurance products. So they're actually, the question is, do they all belong in one company? Or should they actually be specialized services? Potentially. So, but it's an interesting one that nice to know that you look at this from a scenario perspective, which I think is aligned with the fact that it's quite uncertain how fast things will go. Things might sometimes take quite a long time before they actually materialize, but sometimes they suddenly accelerate, and it's good to be prepared in any case. Thanks for sharing, Catharina. I'm curious about this, Hidde. What do you think about this from a pension perspective? I think you were also more of an ecosystem player to try and facilitate transition. So especially if we tie that into the talent discussion, right? So do people care enough to actually want to look after their pensions? And so let's say, are they appreciative of your service so far? Because very often people find
I need to run. I leave you. Thank you very much.
At the moment,
cheers, everyone.
especially youngsters.
Ciao, GC.
Right.
Ciao.
Yeah, sure. I think you're right.
We'll be wrapping up any second.
It's not something that plays a big role in everyday life. But the promise, at least in the Netherlands, of the move to the new pension contract is that it will become more transparent and it will become more individual. So that means you have more agency and you really have to make some choices regarding your pensions. And what we think is that that will make it more relevant to for pensions to be really interactive. And that means also the players that supply pension products to the market, like insurance companies, should be able to have responsive, real-time interactions with their pension clients. Whereas now it's mostly paper-based, and things can take up to months to get done. And people don't care, so it's okay. But that will change.
Yep, no, for sure. What do you think, Penny? Does that really matter also to retain talent to get that all sorted out?
Sorry, my mic didn't work. I think it's an important one. Yeah, indeed, correct.
Yeah, I think it's nice. And actually, it also brings me to the point on sort of I wanted to touch upon data ethics, and also the question that Robert was asking about how insurance can contribute to a more sustainable world. I think we can only conclude that there's too much to continue our talk about at another moment, because I think we have to let everyone go for tonight. But I'm really looking forward to continue the conversation from the Benelux perspective, especially with all of you here around the table. So I think we've got really interesting insights, great expertise, and so thank you very much for sharing your perspectives with us today. I hope you found the session worthwhile and enjoyed the conversation as well.
Absolutely, thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
I just briefly want to point out that from the LHoFT, Fintech Belgium and Holland FinTech, there are still some interesting events coming up quite soon. I'll show them to you soon. And for the rest, we're very much looking forward to get your feedback. So we'll be sending you an email with some insights about what we talked about today, but we'd like to hear from you about what we could do next time to even do a better event. Very much looking forward to it. Thank you very much all for joining.
Thank you.
Looking forward to see you again.
Stay
next
safe
time.
and get an insurance.
Bye.
Cover if possible.
Product.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.